Hey everybody, Tina here. Welcome back to my channel, Our Blessed and Beautiful Life. I feel like it's been so long since I've talked to you guys. I wanted to come on today to share something with you guys in regards to our homeschooling. You know, this is our third year homeschooling. Most of you know I've been homeschooling Parker. We did first and second grade, and now we're in third grade. So halfway through third grade. So the first and second year we did a Becca curriculum, and I absolutely loved it. It's very advanced in my opinion compared to public school, so that was great. But for me, Becca had a lot of prep work for the lessons. So I struggled with that a little bit. I was having to prep the board, it was like this lesson, it's like, oh, get this chart, get this, these flashcards, get this. It was like all this stuff that had to be taken out and gotten ready for each lesson. And I was just like, oh, it's just so much stuff. So you guys probably know I've done a couple videos on how I decided to switch from Becca to the Good and the Beautiful. And we were gonna do that for this year for third grade. And there is a couple things that I'm going to stick with as far as the Good and the Beautiful goes, and then there's some things that I've decided to just get rid of. And I think I'm more confident in myself in our homeschooling journey, that I'm totally okay with switching curriculums in the middle of the school year, because I would rather switch now and enjoy the rest of the school year with Parker than just kind of continue with this curriculum that I feel like isn't really working for us, just for the sake of, well, you know, let's not switch until next year. Like, I don't want to be miserable for the next 4, 5, 6 months of school. So this video is not about the Good and the Beautiful curriculum. It's actually going to be about the new curriculum that I got for Parker and I that we have just fallen in love with. So I was super excited. I wanted to come on and share that with you guys. So what I found with the Good and the Beautiful, really quick, I'll just tell you guys, is that there's a lot of fluff around each lesson. And let me just say, this is just my opinion. I know that there are people out there that love it, as with every curriculum, so just keep that in mind. If you don't care for my opinion about these curriculums or what I'm saying, please feel free to scroll on. I respect that there are multiple different curriculums and people's, opinions. Their children learn in different styles. But for me and Parker, the Good and the Beautiful just did not work. It was like, just to teach a simple concept, there'd be like this whole page of reading. For example, the whole math lesson, the third grade math lesson, is centered around a girl named Catherine. And so every math lesson, it's like, oh, Catherine went to her grandpa's farm and helped her grandpa feed the cows. And it's like paragraph after paragraph after paragraph about Catherine and her grandpa. And if he had 5 cows and he had 1 bucket per cow, like how many buckets of milk would they get? Like, everything is centered around this character, Catherine, and just like this storyline behind it. And I'm like, I'd be reading this to Parker and he would be like, oh, the answer's 12. And I'm like, wait, Parker. And I'm like, I'm a little OCD. Like, I'm the check the box kind of person. And I'd be like, well, hold on, let me finish reading. He's like, Mom, he's like, I already know. He's like, 2 times 6, that's 12. And I'm like, dang, he doesn't need all this fluff. He doesn't need the story behind it. He doesn't, and I don't know if it's a boy thing, but Parker's just like, Mom, let's just do it. Like, I don't need you to read me a story about it. I don't need all this explanation. Of course, there are some concepts that he needs a little bit more explanation than others, but that was the biggest thing. It was just so much fluff around the Good and the Beautiful curriculum, and I'm just a straightforward kind of person. I need to get it done. The language arts, the math, whatever. I need the concepts to be laid out clearly and quickly. I need the work to be clear and quick, and so we can wrap it up and go on to the next thing and we can move on about our day. And it was not working for us. And I got to the point where I was dreading doing school every day, you guys, and I don't want to be like that, because I get frustrated, Parker's getting frustrated, we're arguing and fighting more, which makes for a really crappy day, really long day. And I finally told Joe the other day, I was sitting at the table doing schoolwork with P, and I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I was almost in tears. I called a good friend of mine, and it's funny, I say a good friend, we're Facebook friends. I've never met her. She's another homeschooling mom, and I'm like, ugh, what do you recommend? Because she's got quite a few children, and I feel like she has more experience than me. And I just kind of talked to her about what was going on, and I'm like, I'm not sure what to do. you know, we did Abeka first and second grade. We were gonna do the Good and the Beautiful as of third grade, and in the middle of it, we decided it just was not for us. And I'm like, I feel like I need to switch like right now. I don't care that I spent the money on the Good and the Beautiful. I need to come up with something else. And she had introduced me to something that I had never heard of. And one of my biggest focuses was to keep it a Christian-based curriculum. I want Parker learning about God. I want him learning Bible verses, morals and values and principles and things that kind of come out of that curriculum. And she introduced me to something called CLE, and it's Christian Light Education. You guys, I'm freaking in love with this curriculum. So I'm gonna do a flip through, just a quick flip through of the subjects that I bought from Christian Light Education. And if you guys want me to go in depth about a specific subject, leave that in the comments for me, and I can do like a specific video just on reading or just on math or whatever. But this is just kind of an overview of what Parker and I literally just switched to. I think we've only finished our first week, but it's amazing. So I wanted to share that with you guys. So let me just show you really quickly, and then I'll do a close-up flip through for you. But these are the subjects that I purchased from CLE, Christian Light Education. So we have language arts, and we have math, of course, and then we have our reading curriculum. And with the reading curriculum comes your reader. And so for third grade, he's doing Doors to Discovery. And I really like the book. I mean, it's nice quality. It's hardcover. He doesn't have a million books that I have to purchase for his reading curriculum. It's literally just this one book. And there's lots of pictures in here, which of course, Parker being 8 years old, he absolutely loves. Trying to find just a couple other pictures, but there's lots of pictures in here, so it's awesome. So this book you purchase with the reading curriculum, and they go together. And then I also decided to do Bible curriculum this year. So we have never done a Bible curriculum. We have done other things that I've talked to you guys about in other videos, just reading straight from his children's Bible, not a story Bible, but the actual Bible, but it's got more pictures in it to kind of keep his attention. And we've done his daily devotional book every morning before breakfast and things like that, but I've never done an actual curriculum. And so I decided to get this from CLE and give it a try. So let me just tell you guys really quick. So a lot of other curriculums, you know, you might get everything in one book. So it looks like, obviously I just bought all this, but apparently CLE does it in what they call light units. So for example, his reading curriculum has, I should have counted these before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 booklets, light units that go with his reading curriculum. They're labeled like this is 301 and it goes through 310. So you just finished one booklet, and then after you finish this one, you just go on to the next one. The really cool thing about this is that they're super, super cheap. And I thought, well, why don't they just put all this into one book? Because that's what I'm used to with Abeka and even the Good and the Beautiful. I'm like, why all these little, you know, separate booklets when you could just put it all into one spiral bound book? And I suppose you could do that if you wanted to, but I think part of why they did that is because you can buy these individually. So for whatever reason, I mean, maybe you just want to give this a try. You don't want to buy the whole curriculum. These books are like $3 and something cents. Like they're super cheap. So I bought all these subjects from Christian Light Education, and I think I spent like $250, and forgive me, I should have looked before I started the video so I could tell you guys, but it was like $250, maybe $290 that I spent on everything that he needed. And that also includes the parent teacher guide. So with each subject, like for example, math, all you have to do is buy the parent guide if you want to. You don't even need this. Now, I need this, you know what I'm saying? Because I'd be teaching Parker some concepts and I'm like, I don't even remember how to do that. So I'm like, if you have the teacher guide, that's really all you need. So you buy the books that are in the curriculum and then you buy the teacher guide, and that's that. So I got one for each one. I've got math. I got a teacher's guide for language arts. and of course reading, and then Bible. So I bought one for each one, and it's got the answer keys and stuff in there, of course. So if you're stuck or you don't know how to do something, a lot of times for me, I can look at the answer and see what they did, and I'm like, oh, that's how they got that. And then I can better explain it to Parker if it's something that I don't understand. There are a little bit of guidance in there, like if you want to prep your dry erase board and do a little extra stuff, they have like a little lesson plan in there. But like I said, I'm straightforward. I want to open his book and I want to teach the concept and go. I don't need all the fluff. I don't like playing all the games. That's a big thing with The Good and the Beautiful. There was lots of games with every lesson. And I'm fine every once in a while to do that, but you guys, come on. If you're trying to do your language arts and you're trying to do your math, you're trying to do your Bible, trying to fit in science and history maybe a couple times a week, like I don't have time to be doing like, basketball multiplication every single day and stuff like that. I just ain't got time for that. It just kind of stresses me out. So I do fun things with Parker, and we do art, and he's loving the science curriculum. We are going to stay with The Good and the Beautiful for science this year. We're doing marine biology and he's loving it. And we are going to stick with them also for history. So let me do a close-up flip through for you guys of these books for Christian Light Education and just kind of show you what I'm talking about. It's really amazing how straightforward this is. So let's start first with language arts. Like I said, we're on the first booklet, 301, and these are called light units. So when you open this up, of course you've got your table of contents, and then it goes right into your lessons. So each lesson is labeled here, just like most of your curriculums, pretty self-explanatory. This one, lesson 1, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages, and then this is lesson 2. So they're not all that long, but if you look at what they have, it actually goes by like super fast. So for example, on this one, we're learning about verbs, and it describes what a verb is, an action word, and then it gives an example sentence. And then it's got here, it says underline the verb twice in each sentence. So he reads the sentences and he underlines the verb twice. And then what Parker really likes is it does have a little checkbox next to every single section. So he's like, boom, done, Mom, and he checks it off. And just to give you an example of like what they've got in here. So this says write a verb to complete the sentence. So he reads a sentence and just comes up with an action word to put in there. And then also on lesson 1, it's learning how to distinguish between using a, and, or the. Like is it a pickle or is it an pickle? And it explains to him how to figure that out so he knows which words to use. And he's been wanting to color all these pictures. So I always let him take a little break in the lesson and I let him color everything that he wants to. And this says underline the correct words. So one day, a or an boy went to hear Jesus, and he underlines the right one. So this is just super straightforward, you guys. Like, boom, this is what we're gonna learn. Boom, here's some practice. Like, there's no fluff, there's no explanations that are like super long, and I really like that. It's got a little blurb here about good study habits. Write one good study habit that will help you this year. Parker says a good study habit is to get good sleep. And then it's got him coloring this picture here. It also has penmanship. So it tells you here, trace and copy the I's and the E's on page 62. So you just go and you flip, and then he's got some penmanship practice here. And as you can see, they've got him doing penmanship for every lesson. And then it's got spelling words, and they incorporate the spelling a lot of different ways, doing, unscrambling words, filling in the blanks, things like that. But what I also like, what I explained before, at the end of every lesson, it says write section 1 spelling words on another paper. So that's what I have Parker do on a piece of notebook paper, is write out his spelling words, and he just learns better that way. It's like a photographic memory. Once he writes it, he learns it. So at the end of every lesson, it's got him writing all those spelling words over and over again every day. So it's helping him to memorize the words better. Consonant blends, teaching him about consonant blends, write a spelling word to complete the sentence. So he gets to put his words into sentences here. And then this is lesson 2. So that was lesson 1, like super easy. So that's language arts. And as you can see, like lesson 2, they're teaching about commas. When do you use commas? Penmanship again, spelling. Lesson 3, we're talking about capitalization rules, when to capitalize things. Abbreviations of the months and days, so it's got all that in there. Talking about sentences versus fragments. And then penmanship again. So it's pretty straightforward. I'm absolutely in love with this curriculum. There's not a lot of fluff. It's just boom, this is what we're doing, this is how to do it. And I really, really like that. Titles of respect and their abbreviations, talking about doctors, yada, yada. So we are on lesson 5, so we haven't done the next one yet. But that gives you an idea of what the language arts looks like for Christian Light education for 3rd grade, and we really, really like it. So this is the Bible curriculum for 3rd grade. So what they do is they have you read a story. Either you can read it or you can have your child read it, but Parker loves when I read to him, so he lays on the floor and I read him the story. So you read him the story, and then from that story, they want to see if he comprehended what you read to him and if he understands it. So write words from the box in these sentences about a Judean house. And he knows what to put there because obviously he was paying attention when I was reading the story to him. Then it does have some fun activities like following the maze. Write the words in order to find the message. Match by writing the correct letter from the right in each blank. He learned, it's also teaching him new words like turban, girdle, jackals, loom, ox yoke, tunic, things that we may not necessarily learn in our culture. But obviously, if you're talking about Bible and Jesus, you're going back over to the Middle East and they live differently over there. So it's kind of cool. And then, so this was one of the lambs in the story got stolen, and the second lesson talks about who stole Frisky, and we just continue this story. So I read him the next story, and then it's got him filling in the blanks to make sure he understood what I read to him. And like here, he's uncoding what this message says by looking at the symbols and then looking at what the letter is and filling in the blanks. Jesus is the perfect lamb. And we talked about all that, so it's really cool, and he loves this kind of stuff. So this is the Bible. That's all there is to the Bible curriculum. All right, so now I'll show you guys the math light unit for 3rd grade. Again, this is so straightforward. Very, very easy. So every day for each lesson, and I hope I'm not too shaky, you guys. I'm holding the camera because it's easier to kind of zoom in and show you different things. But for each lesson, like this is lesson number 1, it has kind of like the daily activities up here that you're gonna do. So On lesson 1, he counts forward and backward by 10s to 100, and then he's going to practice some flashcards. He does a speed drill. It says do speed drill 1 on page 65. So let me show you what those look like. So here's the speed drills, and they change them up every day. Like this is addition, this is subtraction, the next one he did was multiplication, and then he keeps his speed drill scores over here. So however many he gets right, he fills it in, he gets to color the graph to keep track. And so what they do in the math for CLE, and again, this is my first time ever using this curriculum, so I don't know how this is for different grades, but for 3rd grade, what we're doing, they have a little pre-test at the beginning of each lesson. So this is a pre-test, and what it is it's going over things that he should already know from what he learned last year. And when you go to the next lesson, like on the next day, it'll say, I passed the pretest in lesson 1, or I did not pass the pretest in lesson 1. So if he passed the pretest, then he doesn't have to worry about doing the extra practice work. He just gets to go on to the next lesson. If he did not pass the pretest, then he does all of the next lesson, which includes extra work, extra practice work. So what I found, you guys, is I actually just make him do the pretest and the extra work for each lesson. And the reason I'm doing that is because the lessons are so short already that it doesn't really make a difference to him, and it doesn't make it like really super long if we just go ahead and do all the work in there. So as you can see here, one of the things that I'm really loving about this is there's so much actual work to do. There's not a lot of fluff, there's not a lot of reading, there's not a lot of talking about things. It's like Parker knows how to do addition because we learned that already. So we're gonna do addition. And then it's got him setting up the problems here. You know, when they're written side by side, he needs to learn how to stack them and do them. And then more addition, adding money. So it's just practice and practice and practice, which I realized when he started doing this, he was struggling a little bit. And I'm like, wow, so he needs more practice with this. And with the good and the beautiful, there wasn't enough math problems for enough practice. And yes, I suppose I could have made up my own pages of practice problems, but then again, why am I paying for a curriculum if I've got to go and make my own extra work pages, you know what I mean, just to give him more practice. So over here, it's talking about, you know, vocab words for math. So like it says, in 8 plus 6 equals 14. 14 is called the sum. So the answer is the sum. In 42 plus 63 equals 105, the addends are 42 and 63. So these are called addends, 42 and 63. So it's just some practice with vocab there. Lesson 1 was kind of fun. It had him learning different ways to measure, using cubits, using pace, and things like that. So he thought that was really fun. So lesson 2, count forward and backward by 5s to 50, practicing some flashcards, doing his ×1 flashcards, and again doing another speed drill. And he passed the pretest from the previous lesson, but on this one, I didn't have him do the practice work. But I could have, and see, this wouldn't have hurt him to do this. Is actually really good for him to do this practice work. Now this lesson I did not, and like I said, it was only our second lesson in CLE, so I'm like, well, am I gonna have him do the extra work or not? And you'll see as we go on, I decided to go ahead and have him do them. So for this lesson, we're doing calendar and clocks. So it's got a little calendar here, and then it's got questions. A group from Andrew's church sings at Oakdale Manor on the 4th Sunday of the month. What day is that in September? So he comes over here and finds the 4th Sunday and writes the answer. And then of course, writing the time for each clock here. Write the answers. 1 day equals 24 hours, 1 year equals 12 months, and so on. Number the months in order. June is 6, October is number 10, and then circling the best times. So knowing when is AM and when is PM. School lets out for the day. Well, school doesn't let out in the AM, it lets out in the PM. So it's giving him some practice there. And then you'll notice here on lesson 3, he passed the pretest in lesson 2, but I went ahead and had him do the practice set anyways because it was good practice for him. And he did miss a couple of these, so I thought, okay, obviously he needs more practice. So we just did them over again with different questions. And then more clocks, reading time, and then on this one he was doing subtraction. Money, stacking his problems again. So as you can see, like let's look at lesson 3. This is all he had for the day. He did his practice set. We did the daily to-dos. This is still part of his practice, doing more time. He did subtraction, did some more equations over here, and that was it. And then this is lesson 4. So as you can see, the lessons really aren't that long. So for lesson 4, count forward and backward by 2s to 24, do a speed drill, doing some more flashcards. And then as you can see, I'm learning as I go. I don't even care about checking these anymore or really worrying about the pretest because I just have him do the practice page for every lesson regardless. And he doesn't know any better, you know? I gave him a break here and didn't make him do the last line. All right, so I'll show you guys another lesson in the math just to give you an idea of what it looks like. So this is lesson 5, and in lesson 5, they've got him counting forward and backward by 3s to 30. Got some flashcards and doing a speed drill. And then this says, and obviously we haven't done this lesson yet, we're on lesson 4. Use your ruler to count by halves to 12, and then it's got the little apple slices here. Working on fractions, which we did some of that in lesson 4 too, as you can see. He did really good on these. Got some more fraction work here. And then a pretest for some geometry type stuff that he'll be doing. And then that's lesson 6. The lessons are shorter. They're straightforward and to the point. Like this is lesson 5. You've got what? 1, 2, 3 pages for one lesson. So totally doable, you guys. All right, P, so on this section, you're gonna do just like you did the other day. It says count and write the missing numbers. So like if you're looking at a ruler, so if this is 1.5 inches on the ruler, what would be before 1.5?
2.
No, before, in front of it.
1.5.
Close. It would be 1.
1.
Uh-huh. Okay, so if this is 1, what's before 1?
1/2.
1/2. Very good. How do you write 1/2? 1/2. You remember?
Like that?
It's just like this. 1/2. Good job. This is his reading for Christian Light Education. He had fun coloring that yesterday. So, like I said, with the reading curriculum, he's got his Doors to Discovery reader. Lesson 1 is titled Too Honest. So, welcome to 3rd grade reading. It had him just doing a little bit of work here, understanding how to use a glossary and table of contents. And then this one was just reading this paragraph and then answering the question. And then it says, silently read Too Honest on page 2 through 8. So that's when you go to your reader and you find page 2 through 8. And that's gonna be the first story that he's gonna read with this lesson. And they're not too long, as you can see. That's it for that story. So he'll read the story and then he'll come back and he'll answer questions about the story to make sure that he understood what he read. And then down here we have a Bible verse that he learned. Let us walk honestly, Romans 13:13, because this story is all about being honest. And then it's got him practicing this again in later lessons as well. It's teaching him different Bible verses. So it shows him here how to use a pronunciation key. And it says glossaries and dictionaries have pronunciation keys. And then it teaches him how to use these. And I'm going to tell you guys something. I never knew how to use these. I never knew until I got this curriculum. I'm like, what's an A with 2 dots above it? I had no clue. I never knew how to use one of these until I started teaching Parker. So see, moms or dads, you don't need to be, you know, the smartest person in the world to homeschool your child. It's amazing. You kind of learn as you go and you relearn a lot of things that we forgot because we haven't been in school for like 50 million years. So it's got his pronunciation key up here, and then it says match each symbol to the word that has the sound. So like an A with the 2 dots above it has the ah sound, top. And then an E, obviously a long E, because that's what that straight line above it means, has the long E sound like an eagle. So he's actually starting to memorize those. They've had him, there's repetition, they've had him do this in a couple lessons. So this is lesson 2. So that was pretty quick. That was it for lesson 1 in his reader. Just read the story and then answer the questions. Lesson 2, underline the name of the person who said each sentence. So it has us go through on lesson 2 and reread the story to honest. So then he's going to answer these questions to make sure that he actually paid attention when he read it. And then again, it's got him practicing his Bible verse. So this says Jack made this basket look like they were full of big cherries. The truth was that the big cherries were only on the top. Jack was not being honest because he tried to make his customers believe something that was not true, because little Jack here was hiding little cherries underneath the big ones and having people buy baskets of big cherries. So it says color the footsteps that have words about honesty. So he colored the word right, happy, truth, and honest. Again, we're doing some pronunciation key practice here. So I love the values and the ethics, you guys, in this Christian curriculum is just, I really love it. It's just kind of sprinkling in a little bit of, you know, Jesus in there on top of our Bible curriculum and everything else that we try to do. So lesson 3, it says look up these words in your light unit glossary. So there's a glossary in the back of this book, and it gives him new words that he's probably never heard of, except warts, because he likes to collect frogs, and we found out that frogs don't actually give you warts. That's not true. Fun fact. So it has him learning how to use a glossary, which is really cool, and find definitions for words. Read this paragraph, answer the question. Silently read Adventure After Dark on page 9 through 14, which is his next story in his reader, Adventure After Dark, and it's about this frog here. So he reads that, and then it's going to have him answer questions about that story. And here he learned a new Bible verse that he practices. Here it's talking about accented syllables. It's teaching him how to pronounce again, just like we were with like the pronunciation key. Look up each word in the glossary, put the accent mark on the correct syllable. Underline the bold word that completes each sentence. So the accent mark shows which syllable is said more quietly or loudly, and it's for loudly. And then again, we're working on pronunciation keys. Write the missing words to complete your Bible verse. So this is his Bible verse from the first lesson. And then we're on to lesson 4. So as you guys can see, it's pretty straightforward. It's got him reading the next story in his reader, which is Adventure After Dark, answering the questions, working on his Bible verse. Fun things here like circle the name of each animal you have heard at night. Write the word from the poem that completes the sentence. write the letter of the definition of each study word. So these are the ones we learned in the previous lesson. So it's really nice. It doesn't just teach him something once, it brings it into, you know, following lessons for repetition, which I don't know about you guys, but Parker really learns well like that. And I personally learned well with repetition as well. So this is his reader. Pretty cool. So one thing I did want to show you guys really quickly was what the teacher's guides look like. So all of your answers are in here for each one of your lessons. Like this is lesson 3 in his math book, and it's got lesson preparation. I don't even do any of this stuff, you guys. I literally only pull out the teacher's guides if I need to check answers on something or if we don't understand something. So it's got it all in here. Obviously these are the pages I just showed you in his actual workbooks over here. So it's got the answers, and it has some information over here as far as like the lesson that you're going to be teaching. You know, for example, looking at clocks, it says show how to write the time. Point out the colon that separates hours from minutes. Remind students to always write 2 digits in the minute spaces and if they are zeros. Excuse me, even if they are zeros. So it does give you some guidance here if you're a new homeschooler and or if there's a concept that you're going to be learning and you're like, I don't even know how to teach this to him or what to say. It does give you the guidance, but it's just so, I mean, look at that. It's so short. It's very, very to the point. But you've got all your answers in here. This is your teacher key. So lesson 4, again, you've got all your answers for his workbook pages. Lesson 5, pretty straightforward. And then here's his language arts. So this is lesson 1. We talked about this using a, an, or the. It's got objectives for the lesson, board preparation. Again, I don't do any of this, you guys. I just don't have time for it. I just open his book and we go. Verbs, good study habits, you know, all of his answers are here for the work that he did. These are the lessons that I showed you guys. So pretty straightforward. So you only need the teacher guide to go with each of the curriculum subjects that you choose. And the other thing that I really like, obviously, as you can see, if we're gonna be on the go and we're gonna, you know, I don't know, let's say we're gonna go camping and we have a full day's drive to the campsite and we wanna do school in the car, all I need is his little booklets that we're working on for his subjects. And I can bring the teacher keys if I want to. I probably wouldn't, but this is all you need. And his little reader. I mean, I could do school in a moving vehicle. I could do school in a hotel room if I had to. Like, this is all we need to do our lessons, so it's super convenient. All right, you guys, so that was pretty much it for quick flip throughs of the subjects that I chose to do from Chris and Light Education. Again, I chose 4 subjects that we're working on, and we're continuing our science. Do I have 4 here, or do I have 5? Yes, I have 4. We're continuing our science and history for the good and the beautiful. I might reassess with that next year. CLE also has social studies, so we might venture into that, but pretty simple, quick flip throughs of just a few of the lessons in the book. And like I said, if you want me to go in depth and do like a video for a specific subject, I'd be more than happy to do that. I like watching videos with flip throughs because it gives me an idea of what I'm getting if I'm going to purchase a curriculum, and you can see firsthand if you think it's going to be something that works for you and your child before you have to go and spend the money and buy it. So I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If it was, give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. I'm really happy that we switched, and sometimes, even though it's scary, you gotta just jump. Like, if you know something's not working for you and you're miserable and your child is miserable, who wants to deal with that? Nobody wants to homeschool when everybody hates what they're doing. So I would say, you know, reach out to people that you know that are homeschoolers. There's lots of great Facebook groups on Facebook that are homeschooling Facebook groups, which is actually where I met my friend. And you know, it's okay to reach out and tell people, hey, I don't know what to do. Like, you guys, there are so many curriculums out there. You could go crazy trying to figure out what to use. So sometimes you just have to pick something, go with your gut, give it a shot. And if it doesn't work, don't be afraid to be like, we're getting rid of this and we're gonna start over. Now, you might be thinking, did I, start over in the beginning? Even though we're already, like 3 months into the school year, I did. We were already in like, I don't know, lesson 40 something or 50 something with the good and the beautiful. But I went ahead, instead of jumping into like lesson 40 or 50 of CLE, we just started at the beginning of the workbook. And I'm not worried about it, you guys. I used to be super, super strict and like, oh, everything has to be like on time. And I'd have a date planner with like Monday, November 14th is lesson 41. And I just like had everything like laid out like that. And it was so rigid that it didn't leave us room for flexibility. And even though we have that flexibility with homeschooling, in my mind, I was like bound to this schedule I had set for myself. And I'm like, why am I doing this? So I like to be done with school in May so we can have the summer off. This year we might go into June because we had to switch curriculums, in the middle of the year, and I'm okay with that. So anyway, I'll quit rambling for now. I just wanted to share that with you guys. We did switch over from the Good and the Beautiful to Christian Light Education, CLE. And if you guys haven't checked them out, please do, because I think that you'll really like them. All right, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I will see you guys on the next video.